So I wanted to share with you indeed the project that Nukhet has already referred to. So using video cases for online IB teaching. So my name is Filip de Beule from the KU Leuven in Belgium. And this is ERASMUS Project, meaning that it's a European funded project together with some other university partners, as well as Nukhet's LEZ communication company. So as you can see, we have cases coming from 2 Eastern European countries and 2 Western European countries, meaning Slovenia and Poland on the one hand, and the UK and Belgium on the other hand. And so we also have 2 smaller countries, Belgium and Slovenia, as opposed to 2 bigger countries, Poland and the UK. This has been done on purpose, given that we wanted to have different backgrounds to companies, meaning that, as you all are well aware, of course, that the context where companies come from has an impact on its internationalization. That's why we felt in the setup of the project, it was important to have partners from the different European countries. As this is a European funded project, everything is open source. This means that all the video cases and the teaching materials will become available as they are developed. Since we've started 18 months ago, we are in the process of developing them, but they are still work in progress. So if you ask me, are they already available? The answer is unfortunately not yet, but everything will become available by September 2021, in line with the academic year in Europe, which everybody could use if they wanted to for the academic year 21-22. We've also set up some websites and social media accounts to make sure that the results can be shared. So whatever it is that you like, if you like traditional websites, as you can see, we have mncwhispering.com. But of course, for the moment, as you might understand, there's nothing much to list yet. But we also have, obviously some Twitter account and some LinkedIn account where also the information will become available. And the videos will also become available on YouTube. So they will be readily available for lecturers to use all over the world. Now, why did we come up with this plan for online IP teaching using video cases? Because we see that more and more universities, faculties, and business schools, obviously, are offering more and more online classes. This was an ongoing trend before, but as we are all painfully aware, I guess by now, this has been warped because of the COVID-19 crisis, because we've all been sitting at our desk talking to students online since a few months. And I must admit that I struggle myself using traditional materials. It's not very rich to do these online teaching or appropriate for online teaching. So that's why we think that the project that we're doing and the video cases that we're developing will be very useful in this respect. And especially also for newer generations of students, video is the way forward. So, I have some data here to show that when we look at the different generations, video is actually becoming increasingly important, especially this Generation Z, which has just started to hit our classrooms if you are in the undergraduate program, but of course is only getting started, meaning that the Generation Z cohort is not finished yet. And of course, for the next 10, 15, 20 years, they will be crowding our aulas. So when you look at what they want, they don't want text, they don't want to read, they don't want to write necessarily either. And so when you look at the result, for instance, because of COVID, you see that millennials focus much more, as you can see here, on online videos. And if you look at this for Generation Z, yeah, they are very much visually based. They have a video brain. So it's an important consideration to take into account when we develop teaching materials. So without further ado, I thought that I would just show you one video case and how I had anticipated using it. So I'm just going to show one video of 4 minutes, which I hope you will enjoy. I'm not going to talk through this video. I'm just going to show how indeed the case is narrated by a CEO and by the CTO upon questions that I ask through a script. So I've asked them scripted questions, and so they answer in line with the things that I want to demonstrate or show through this video case. This is a video case of an internationalization process of Born Global from a small company in Belgium. And so the question that I would ask, how would you internationalize or start internationalizing this company? So it's called IP, which is linked as well to the intellectual property as it is to the intellectual property that they have in the sanitary ware business. So it's literally not just IP of intellectual property, but also IP. So perhaps when looking at this video, you might ask yourself the question, which I would ask to students: how would you start internationalizing this company? Okay, so as you can see, this is only the first part of this video, of this series of videos on this company, where we use this problem-solving procedure. So, you know, you would ask students how they could conceive of internationalizing this company, and they could come up with different methodologies. You could say, oh, we have to do this ourselves, we have to develop our own products, or we could use strategic alliances with other companies, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, the point is not that they get the answer right, of course, but that they just think about ways in which this company could internationalize and the advantages and disadvantages of the various methods. Subsequently, what we then do is, as Nukhet also indicated, is develop, let's say, what is called knowledge clips, where we discuss what the theories or the models that are useful in this regard are and how they could be used. These knowledge clips, as you understand, are also videos which detail the theories or the models that you want to relate to the certain specific company, and how in a second instance they are linked, they can be linked to the video case. So how do they give an answer to the specific question? For instance, in this case, of course, we could talk about the Uppsala model or the internalization theory or the network model to this case study. Now, of course, we're not going to go into detail on the specifics of this case, given that it's an educational seminar and not a research seminar. But I just want to, of course, show to you that this is the way in which information can be supplied to students afterwards to discuss what the company has done and what it means in terms of theory, in terms of models, in terms of frameworks. And so you see how they have done it over time, of course, which builds on the various cases, video case series that we developed, let's say 4 or 5 in this case. You know, one model that you could use, as indicated, is the Uppsala process model related to the initial model, or perhaps relating it to the later version of the 2009 model, or obviously also relating it to the Born Global model that is also available in literature. You know, what we just want to show, I guess, is that despite the fact that it might be a Born Global, you see that there is indeed this process of learning which makes the company increasingly international, increasingly able and willing also to do so. So this is just an example of how it could be used in class discussion. Now, the way that I use it, I typically have students read a chapter in a textbook beforehand, because I feel that they at least need to have some sort of theoretical or empirical background knowledge to try to answer these questions in class. It depends, of course, a little bit on who your students are, but my students are typically perhaps lacking in theories, so I force them to read something beforehand. And so I use this case synchronously, you could say, in class, using, for instance, Blackboard Collaborate to create teams of students to come up with answers to this question. And so afterwards we can discuss in a subsequent part their solutions, if you like, of what they came up with. But obviously I use Blackboard Collaborate, but you can also use Zoom or Microsoft Teams or Google Meet, whatever it is that your university subscribes to. Also, I like to relate the theory to the case also in class, given that in my understanding of what students get out of a case, it's often not very easy for them to understand what the case actually tells them in terms of theory. So I discuss this with them in class, and of course they can also check the knowledge clips that are developed on this case afterwards to make sure that they at least understand the theory like they should and what it actually means in terms of this video case. But obviously you could also have students prepare part of the case study in advance and build on it in class. So you could play with different methods of delivery depending on the way that you prefer or the way that you are accustomed to. And the learning of theory could partially precede or even follow the case. So in this respect, I think that both methodologies work, meaning an inductive versus a deductive approach, starting from observation or starting from theory. I think that both of these methodologies are possible. And so it depends a little bit on your own liking, what it is that you could choose. Okay, and with that, I will end my presentation and revert to the Q&A, if you like.
Thank you so much.